conversations last offseason was Caitlin Clark $100,000 an hour speaking gigs. Well, I'm here to tell you she is not taking long getting back to work, raking in the cash because she has landed yet her first speaking gig. Now, I don't know if the money is still $100,000. That has yet to come out, how much Caitlin Clark is charging this go around, but I'm pretty sure it's probably.
Caitlin Clark has officially landed her first major speaking gig of the offseason, and the WNBA is in full-blown panic mode. Reports have leaked about her new offseason contract, and it's nothing short of shocking. The rookie phenom, who's already owned the headlines all year, has now secured a private deal reportedly worth more than most veterans make in an entire season. Once again, Caitlin Clark isn't just changing the game. She's rewriting what's possible.
I know a lot of people have been wondering why come she didn't do Unrivaled. Guys, Caitlin Clark really didn't need the money to do Unrivaled. She's landed $100K to speak to speak for companies and represent companies all over the country. She's not hurting for cash, and I just think this is just the coolest thing ever that Caitlin Clark is able to do this.
Most people thought Caitlin Clark would take a break after a brutal rookie season, but instead, she's already leveling up. The rookie sensation is cashing in on exclusive deals no other WNBA player can even dream of. From record-shattering ticket sales to sponsorships that break the internet, everything she touches turns into a headline. But this new contract? It's got insiders whispering, execs scrambling, and players fuming. Because if the leaked numbers are true, it doesn't just shift the balance. It redefines the WNBA's future and exposes just how powerful Caitlin Clark has become. And the league's reaction? That's where the real storm begins.
So it looked like Caitlin Clark is headed to Long Island Association, bro. So it stated Long Island Association joined the Long Island Association's president and CEO, Matt Cohen, moderates a special conversation with Caitlin Clark discussing her record-breaking performances, impact, and cultural influence on October the 29th at 10:30 to 12:30 in New York.
It all began with one tweet. A single post that ignited social media within an hour. A well-known sports insider dropped the bombshell. Caitlin Clark had reportedly inked a new off-season deal worth 6 figures. But here's the twist. It wasn't with the WNBA or any team sponsor. It was with a major private organization for an exclusive appearance tour. At first, fans brushed it off as clickbait. Then came the receipts. Leaked internal memos revealing that Caitlin was set to headline a high-profile speaking event. That's when everyone realized this was real.
And there it is, man. Caitlin Clark, networking reception, Chris Holly Country Club. So this is at a golf course. But yeah, guys, so Caitlin Clark has landed her first speaking gig of the off season, and shout out to CC, bro. One thing about Caitlin, dog, she gonna get to that bag.
The New York appearance came with a rumored price tag of over $100,000 per session, and that's when things inside the league started to unravel. The WNBA, still reeling from months of public controversy, suddenly found itself thrust back into the spotlight. Executives were reportedly caught off guard, with no official statement in sight. Behind the scenes, phones lit up between the commissioner's office and top marketing partners. Not because Caitlin Clark had signed another lucrative deal, but because the news got out before they could spin it. This wasn't just a business move. It was a declaration of independence.
You know, I know a lot of people been feeling the type of way about her not standing up for herself, her, just being so nonchalant with things. But one thing I can vividly tell you guys is that Caitlin Clark is going to get to that bag. She ain't going to lose no money at all, bruh. I can almost promise you that.
You know, a lot of people have been saying Caitlin Clark doesn't defend herself enough, that she's too calm, too unbothered. But here's what folks miss. Caitlin Clark is playing chess, not checkers. She's not losing a dime, trust that. She's securing every bag in sight. Her influence has skyrocketed to a level no rookie has ever touched. While most players spend the offseason grinding overseas or chasing minor sponsorships, Caitlin's locking in corporate deals bigger than the entire league minimum combined. That kind of financial power shakes the whole WNBA foundation. Suddenly, the debates about fairness, visibility, and player equity are all roaring back. And this time, Caitlyn's the one driving the conversation. Social media poured gasoline on the fire. Anonymous posts and cryptic tweets from players hinted at growing resentment, whispers that some stars were getting special treatment. No one said Caitlin Clark's name outright, but everyone knew exactly who they meant. Still, the jealousy wasn't what truly scared the WNBA. The real problem was control, or rather, the lack of it. Caitlin's brand had become so massive that even league executives couldn't steer her narrative anymore. Every outlet, ESPN, podcasts, YouTube shows, fan threads, was covering her rumored contract nonstop. Nobody waited for an official statement. The story had a life of its own. And while the league scrambled in silence, Caitlin's camp stayed composed. No denial, no panic, no reaction. That calm confidence sent a louder message than any press release could. For the first time, a player held full control over her own off-season narrative, independent of the WNBA's PR machine. Behind closed doors, tension flared. Some executives argued the league should embrace Caitlin's star power, no matter how much it disrupted tradition. Others pushed for tighter boundaries, fearing her influence could divide locker rooms and alienate other players. But one thing was undeniable. The WNBA had never seen anything like this. And as their silence stretched on, fans read it as weakness, frustration, or both. The league's worst fear had become reality. Their most powerful story was no longer theirs to control. Behind the scenes, insiders said tensions were rising fast. Teams were quietly splitting into two camps, those who applauded Caitlin Clark for elevating the league's visibility, and those who felt she was stealing the spotlight from players who'd been grinding for years. The divide was getting wider by the day, and everyone in the league could feel it. Meanwhile, Caitlin said nothing. No tweets, no interviews, no statements. That silence only made the speculation louder. Was she brushing off the backlash, or was she simply refusing to play into the drama? Her team reportedly decided the smartest move was to stay quiet and let the noise fade. But instead of fading, it grew. Every sports show and podcast had the same debate. Was Caitlin Clark saving the WNBA or overshadowing it? Some said she was the best thing to ever happen to women's basketball. Others called her a distraction who dominated the narrative. The league's PR team tried to shift focus with team-first campaigns, but no one was buying it. Every conversation eventually led right back to Caitlin and her rumored contract. The jealousy wasn't disappearing. It was festering. Coaches began quietly urging players to stay in their lane, but that was easier said than done. Caitlin Clark had fundamentally changed the balance of power in the WNBA, and not everyone was built to adjust. The tension was real. The whispers were growing louder, and soon, someone inside the league was going to break their silence. And when they did, everything would blow wide open. So instead, the league tried to play the long game, filling their official feeds with polished posts about unity and team success. But it fell flat. The media wasn't fooled, and neither were the fans. Sports podcasts started digging deep into the WNBA's long-standing financial struggles and its tight grip on player autonomy. Analysts pointed out that Caitlin Clark's independent rise had exposed just how outdated the league's marketing system really was. Then came the hard questions. Why did it take one rookie to turn women's basketball into a national headline? Some commentators went even further, accusing the WNBA of internal jealousy and quiet sabotage, saying the commissioner's silence wasn't professionalism, it was fear. Meanwhile, Caitlin's deal kept snowballing. Her New York event sold out in just 48 hours. Major brands lined up to collaborate. Her name was topping every trending list in women's sports. And the harder the league tried to shift focus, the more the media doubled down. It had become a tug of war, Caitlin's brand versus the WNBA's image. Then, during a live ESPN segment, one analyst accidentally revealed that the network had been told to tone down coverage of the league to protect the league's reputation. That single comment set off another firestorm. Fans accused the WNBA of censorship and media manipulation. What was supposed to quiet the chaos only made it louder. And by week's end, one thing was clear. Caitlin Clark wasn't just part of the story anymore. She was the story. Every move Caitlin Clark made, from attending a charity gala to shooting around at a public gym, was instantly captured and shared online. She wasn't just trending anymore. She was the heartbeat of the entire women's sports conversation. Inside WNBA headquarters, the tension was thick. Executives debated whether to publicly praise her or quietly ride out the storm. Some argued for a statement of support, saying it would show unity. Others warned it would look like surrender, as if the league was bowing to a single player. The longer Caitlin stayed silent, the more fractured the league appeared. Behind closed doors, a few veteran players even reached out privately, trying to read where her head was. Was she intentionally distancing herself from the WNBA, or simply refusing to engage with the chaos? Reports say her answer was calm but decisive. She was focused on her off-season projects, not the noise. That choice proved brilliant. Her silence became a masterclass in brand control. Every new headline, every debate, every rumor about her contract only elevated her status. She didn't need to defend herself. The world was doing it for her. Even some of her harshest critics started admitting she was playing an entirely different game. And as her reputation grew stronger, the league's panic started to look smaller, almost petty. The harder they tried to control the story, the more powerful Caitlin's quiet confidence became. It wasn't ego, it was strategy. She understood her value and refused to let anyone else dictate it. But as her star continued to rise, unchallenged and unstoppable, whispers inside the league grew louder. What happens when one player becomes bigger than the league itself? The answer was coming, and it wasn't going to be pretty. By the end of the week, one truth had settled in. Something inside the WNBA had permanently shifted. There were no easy answers, just a quiet sense of panic settling over the league. Some WNBA officials floated the idea of restructuring media access, trying to limit how much coverage revolved around Caitlin Clark. Others immediately shot it down, warning that silencing her would only blow up in their faces. "You can't hide the sun," one marketing executive reportedly said during a tense conference call. And they were right. Caitlin's rise wasn't about favoritism or hype. It was the result of a perfect storm: talent, timing, and authenticity. Fans connected with her in ways they hadn't with any player before. She wasn't just the face of a franchise. She was the heartbeat of the league's relevance. That reality forced some uncomfortable questions. If Caitlin could pull in six figures from a single event completely outside the WNBA's structure, what did that say about the league's own ability to uplift its stars? Sponsors began reconsidering where to spend their money: invest in the WNBA's brand, or go straight to Caitlin's. That very thought sent chills through the front office, because suddenly, the league wasn't just competing with rival sports, it was competing with one of its own. Meanwhile, fan loyalty began to shift. People who had never watched a WNBA game in their lives were now following Caitlin's every move like it was a personal journey. Her leaked contract had unintentionally turned her into a symbol, not just of success, but of independence. She represented what it looked like to win on your own terms. On social media, hashtags like Caitlin Power and Chai Move were trending for days, capturing the cultural moment she had created. And as Caitlin continued her rise, one thing became undeniable. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about control, influence, and the evolution of power in women's sports. As Caitlin Clark's star kept climbing, the WNBA's leadership found itself under mounting pressure to act. The longer they stayed quiet, the more the public saw the league as insecure and fractured. Rumors began to swirl that officials were drafting new rules to monitor off-season deals and sponsorship disclosures, a thinly veiled attempt to reassert control after losing the narrative. But fans weren't fooled. The league's effort to rein her in only poured fuel on the fire. Social media erupted with backlash. Commentators accused the WNBA of jealousy. Fans called out hypocrisy. "You should be thanking her, not policing her," one viral post read. Others pointed out the double standard. Male athletes are celebrated for cashing in on their fame. But when Caitlyn did the same, suddenly it was a problem. The debate turned messy fast. Every comment section became a war zone, between those defending Caitlyn's right to profit from her influence and those warning that she was disrupting league. Balanced networks like ESPN tried to spin it as growing pains for women's basketball. But behind closed doors, the atmosphere was pure panic. Meanwhile, Caitlyn stayed poised, silent, composed, unbothered, as her popularity only grew stronger. What started as a contract leak had evolved into something much bigger. Caitlyn Clark had become a living symbol of freedom and self-determination in women's sports. By the time October 29th rolled around, the date of her highly anticipated New York speaking event, anticipation had hit fever pitch. Every ticket was sold out weeks in advance. The venue was filled with executives, athletes, business leaders, and fans who had flown in just to hear her speak. Outside, media vans lined the streets. Reporters broadcasted live like it was championship night. What was meant to be a polished corporate event had turned into a full-blown cultural spectacle. When Caitlyn finally walked onto the stage, the entire room rose to its feet. Cameras flashed. Applause thundered. And for a brief moment, all the noise and controversy melted away. By the end of her speech, even her harshest critics were clapping. The standing ovation lasted minutes. Sponsors rushed to post photos. News outlets wrote glowing reviews. Social media lit up with clips that spread across every platform within hours. The WNBA, whether it wanted to or not, now revolved around Caitlyn's orbit. Players who once felt envy began seeing opportunity, with several starting to negotiate their own brand partnerships inspired by her example. Younger athletes began calling her a trailblazer, proof that women in basketball could be both athletes and entrepreneurs. Even coaches admitted privately that her independent success had elevated the game in ways no marketing campaign ever could. But inside the league's boardrooms, the mood was mixed. The triumph was undeniable, but so was the power shift. The WNBA leadership knew a new era had begun, one where the players, not the league, held the leverage. And at the center of it all stood Caitlyn Clark, who had rewritten the rules without ever uttering a word. As she waved to fans and exited the stage, the reality was impossible to ignore. The WNBA may have tried to contain the fallout, but instead, it exposed just how unstoppable Caitlyn's momentum had become. She proved that modern athletes don't need permission to succeed. They can build their own legacies outside the system. For fans, it was inspiring. For executives, it was terrifying. And for women's basketball, it was historic. Because after this moment, there was no going back. Caitlyn Clark wasn't just the face of the WNBA anymore. She was the force redefining its future.